maybe you watched me on here like 30 minutes ago do another one of these interviews. It just so happens that Amy Cook, the previous interview, and Tucker Kimbrough booked on the same day, about an hour apart from each other. But that's okay because we're here for another member spotlight. And, honestly, if you haven't listened to Amy's episode, go back in the podcast, listen to Amy's episode because she breaks down how she just crushed a triplex, VA house hack, and it cash flows. I think it was like $600 a month, just like that. So if you're thinking, oh God, I can't find any deals in today's market, well, you're wrong. Go listen to that episode. She'll tell you how to find that deal and how she found it and found success. But this episode is something that is near and dear to my heart because it's about short-term rentals. And as a self-proclaimed newbie in the short-term rental game myself, I'm finding massive success up here in the Washington, D.C. area. And we had a student join Operation Atom, the Action Takers Only Mastermind, a couple months ago now, maybe like 2 months ago, and he had told me that he's like, yeah, it was right around the Christmas holiday, I remember, and that you joined, and you're like, yeah, I have a couple short-term rentals, and then you told me, oh, well, it's more than a couple. It's kind of like a resort. And I was like, wait, what? So, obviously we hopped on a call and I picked your brain then, but now I want you to share, Tucker, everything that you shared with me on, first of all, how this deal even happened, because these interviews are all about deal deep dives, how this deal happened, how at 24 years old, as a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, you are stationed in Pensacola going through flight school, and how the heck do you own a short-term rental resort in Montana? Gonna ask that question, and how how you're converting this property and really looking at the numbers to help people out who might be interested in the short-term rental game. So, folks, if you are interested in short-term rentals, this is something you definitely want to key in on. But let's get started here. So, Tucker, thanks again for taking the time. And if you could do a super brief intro about yourself and your military affiliation and your career and where you are right now.
Yeah, Kevin, thanks for having me on. It's definitely always wanted to be on here since I started listening. Anyways, I'm a Auburn alum, graduated the class of 2020, which was the COVID
Is
class.
that Roll Tide? Is that what I'm supposed to
That's
say?
War
No,
Eagle.
no. Oh
That's War
God,
Eagle.
oh no! I screwed up on all the listeners.
Anyways, since I was a part of the COVID class graduating, when I commissioned, I didn't have a date to start until a calendar year after commissioning in the Marine Corps.
Wow.
So for that time, I wasn't being paid by the military. I ended up moving out to Montana, getting a job as a ski instructor. While I was there, I found bigger pockets, started listening to podcasts, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, read The Go Giver, sort of started to realize, hey, there might be something for me in real estate. Ended up reaching out to the only Bigger Pockets member registered in Big Sky, Montana, who has now been my partner in business for over a year. And we found he was already in multiple short-term rentals in the area and was absolutely crushing it. I mean, seeing ungodly numbers that I never even imagined.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally found a property that worked. And yeah, I guess the rest is history.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting, your story, because I think in the Air Force they call it casual duty. I don't know what they call it in the Marine Corps, but I'm pretty sure the Air Force, like, that you're technically like still in and you get paid during your casual duty, and they just kind of make you do odd jobs while you wait for the training class. But in your situation, the Marines were like, yeah, no, come back when the class is open and just chill for a year. We're not going to pay you. So you commissioned, and then they're just like, we're just going to not pay you for a while and go and do things. So what made you choose Montana?
I had always wanted to be, ski is my favorite activity, skiing and snowboarding. I'd always wanted to be an instructor, and I saw it first was a pretty big kick in the gut, like,
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to be a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, finally got it, but you got to wait. So I used it as an opportunity to move across the country from Atlanta. Never really got time to spend out in the mountains like that. So it
That's
was
awesome.
really just a great opportunity to explore, and I learned a lot about myself. But yeah, I mean, the real estate market out there was crazy, and that's how I got involved. Really, through the only person that I reached out to. We just ended up meeting at a coffee shop a couple of times, running numbers on different properties. He had a lot of experience, obviously owned multiple Airbnbs, all of which are wildly successful.
That's
So I
awesome.
was able to, I mean, I'm so thankful to have a mentor like that to show me really what the short term rental industry can be, just with all of the experience that he had.
Yeah, that's incredible. So jumping into this deal that you found, so you went and you're on the hunt at this point. I mean, you learned how to underwrite the deals. You knew that you wanted to, find something that you could turn into a short-term rental. So tell me how you found this deal.
So after getting beat by cash offers that like we just couldn't compete with, and talking to multiple agents, we ended up finding a place right around Glacier National Park. It was a single family home on 5 acres of land, priced at 500,000 with a partner. We were able to figure out how to get the financing for it,
Hmm.
put an offer in, it got accepted. So at that point, we had been looking for deals for 5 or so months and just continually getting beat, but we just never stopped looking. We never stopped reaching out, changing up our strategy, and trying to just find a way to win.
Yeah. So there was this. I mean, this sounds like it was on the MLS, right?
It hadn't quite made it on the MLS when we got it. The agent that we used to purchase it, she knew the listing agent personally, had worked with her before, and she just through that relationship was the first person that the listing agent reached out to, and then our agent reached out to us, said, "Hey, I've got a
Yeah,
really great opportunity for you,"
I love that.
and yeah, the rest.
Yeah, I mean, Tucker, that's such that is. I want to foot stomp that because it's so important. We talk about the other week, and I think 2 weeks ago in our weekly coaching call, we had a whole discussion, a whole call on how to find deals and how to find and really pump your off market deals and relationships. I mean, the number one way I wrote a whole email about it was relationships. Build relationships with your agents and your deal providers because just because something doesn't hit the or it isn't on the MLS, um, you know, it doesn't mean it's not available, right? So like having that relationship and it's kind of these pocket listings, right? Where an agent's talking to another agent and they're like, well, why am I going to list this? Why don't I just work with my friend over here who I've worked with in the past? I know they have a buyer. We'll just kind of keep it off market. It's going to be fine. And by doing that, you're effectively eliminating all the potential competition who is sitting there waiting for it to come on the MLS. And that only happens by building and nurturing a relationship with your deal providers. So super cool that you were able to capitalize on that. So single family home, $500,000 on 5 acres. You said that's a big plot of land.
Right. And it ended up, we found out about a month after we went our contract. The inspector came. He was like, "Wait a minute, this isn't one house. This is two separately deeded houses." And I was like,
Oh,
I was totally unaware that was the case. It was sight unseen. I was in Quantico at the basic school at the time, so obviously I wasn't going out to view this property by myself. My partner had gone, and he thought it was just the one house as well. So that ended up being a blessing and a curse. It made it really hard to get an appraisal done,
mm,
and there was a long-term tenant in the second house, and the eviction process on that was pretty rough. We were under the impression at the time that the second house was going to be a teardown and that it was unsalvageable. And we didn't
mm.
find out until a day after closing that it actually had a pretty good foundation and it would be worthwhile to renovate and list on Airbnb itself.
Wow. So a lot to unpack here. So just rewinding, the inspector comes and tells you like, hey, this is two houses. So it was listed, or well, it wasn't really listed. Everything you knew up to that point was, hey, this is a single family home. It's one unit. It's on 5 acres. We're going to turn it into a short term rental. Like that was the business plan, right? And then inspector comes and says, by the way, you're purchasing a duplex. Like that must, kind of change your business plan. I mean, And not only that, it's also, by the way, someone is living in here and they may or may not have been paying rent for who knows what. Like, what? Where was the owner in this? The seller, was he like not there?
The seller was a widow who was
Mm,
given the property as part of an LLC that her husband had been a part of. She really wanted no part in it, like whatsoever. She just wanted to get it off her hands. The houses are actually quite literally on the opposite sides of the 5 acres, which I
oh
guess
wow.
made it so that she didn't really understand that there were two different houses. I'm not even sure she had ever been to the property. The main house was already on Airbnb. Granted, it hadn't really been that well taken care of, so we had to put about 15,000 in renovations into it before we were comfortable listing it. And so, yeah, it was kind of a crazy process.
So it wasn't like a duplex that were connected. These are two completely separate homes on one plot of land, 5 acres apart.
They're separately deeded, so that we ended up in finding out they're two separate addresses. So that's why
Wow.
the appraisal was
Oh.
complicated
Oh
because
my God.
they're
Yeah.
completely separate addresses, and our lender had absolutely no idea how to put that
Yeah.
into an appraisal document.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, this is a pretty unique situation. I guess the biggest surprise here is that it's all considered one property. You know, you would think that it would just be boom, subdivide, and you get two properties. But I guess it wasn't like that. I'm sure there was some zoning things going on, and someone was grandfathered into something back in the day. But regardless, I mean, you were able to, so at the end of the day, we're talking numbers here. You got these two units now for 500,000 on a 5 acre property right next to a national park, Glacier National Park, correct? And you put 15,000 into the main unit, which that was the one that was unoccupied, correct?
Right. It was
Right.
just an Airbnb. It had
Right.
been an Airbnb
It
for a
had
couple
been
of
an
years.
Airbnb, however, not necessarily performing the best or to your standards or to your partner's standards. So you said, okay, let's pull down this listing. We're gonna renovate, redesign, do whatever we need to do to make this thing really, really pop. So, do you know what and I'm gonna nerd out here for our listeners, but do you know what the average daily rate was before you guys came in? Because it was an Airbnb.
The average daily rate, we were looking at around $80 or so. So they were just kind of listing it. I don't think it was cash flowing at all at that
So
point.
so so they had it, and and how big is this first unit?
It's a 3 bed, 2 bath,
Wow. Jeez.
so pretty large home.
Yeah, 3 bed, 2 bath for $80. I mean, that's a steal. But okay. So, and I'm thinking in DC terms, and maybe I need to stop doing that. But the so you come in, then you guys put 15,000 into it, and then relist it. What is your average daily rate on that property now?
So we actually played around with Airbnb's algorithm quite a bit. We first listed it in November. Since that time, our occupancy has been hovering around 85%. We listed it initially at $50 a night to get
Wow.
our bookings up really quickly
Hmm.
because Airbnbs take a bit of time to season. It takes a while for you to get
Yep.
repeat bookings. It takes a while for people to just see it on there. And we had no reviews. So we had absolutely no credibility. I mean, your reviews are completely, they make or break you on Airbnb.
For sure.
So once we got a good hotbed of reviews, all of which up until this point have been 5 stars, we started steadily increasing the rate. And in the summer, we have several bookings at $500 a night.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's incredible what you can do with Airbnb. And I just personally, I just got a booking last night, 9:30 at night for a weekend in April, $400 a night for and that's so that pretty much covers over half my rent on that property because I do the arbitrage model. But that's 3 nights. So but you're right. You're absolutely right as far as, kind of hacking the algorithm and making sure that people get not only eyes on the property, because Airbnb does that for you. It says, hey, this is a new property, or maybe, there's some strategies in there where you can pay the service fee and you can, do all this stuff, and their algorithm will promote your property a little bit. But the cool part is once you get those reviews coming in, then you have that credibility and you get repeat stays, and it really starts to take off. So you went from something that was $80 a night to now, on the high season, in the summertime, up to $500 a night. And what is your mortgage on this thing? Like, well, let's, because it's an Airbnb, let's, instead of mortgage, let's say, what's your overhead or your total operational costs for the month?
So we're just about to break into having the 2 rentals. Right now, our expenses are a little over 3,000. It's about 3,100 a month with property management,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, property management is absolutely crucial. Ours have been wonderful. They understand that Airbnb is the hospitality business just as much as it is the real estate business, and they go out of their way to make sure that our guests are getting an absolute premium experience, especially the ones that are going to be paying $500 a night in the
Sure.
summer. They're coming to see the wildlife. They're coming to experience just the wilderness of Montana, and we provide them that feel with having a bunch of deer just roaming through the property almost constantly. And also, our property managers deliver baked goods. I
That's
mean, they
awesome.
just love being property managers. Honestly, they love hospitality.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Absolutely, having a property manager is crucial. So your overhead on the month right now with one unit, about 3,100 a month. And do you happen to know what your last gross revenue was for a month?
Our last gross revenue was just over 35. It was like 35.50.
Hmm.
So we're cash flowing a couple hundred, and we're expecting it's sort of the off season. A
Oh
lot of the
yeah,
Airbnbs
it's gonna
around
be
the
freezing
area.
up there.
Right, right.
Like,
There's snow on the
awesome.
ground. I
Gosh.
think there were a couple of days it was 60 or so degrees, but yeah, it's real cold right now. The national park, it's actually closed right now. They close it in the winter because they don't salt or plow the roads in national parks. Sort
Hmm.
of a just kind of wildlife preservation thing that they do. So we're expecting once the park opens, right, and people come, there's a lake there that people will go water skiing on in the summer.
Hmm.
Once the real tourism season sort of picks up, we're expecting to more than double the revenue that we're seeing. And then, in 2 weeks when we have that second Airbnb come up, we're expecting to just add even more
Hmm.
to that revenue number as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'll. It's when you have the systems in place, and like you guys do, and you have the property management in place, and it's crazy how fast these things can grow. And the cool part is, for the most part, your operational expenses stay about even, right? Yeah, utilities might fluctuate based on the season, whatever. The thing that changes in seasonality is your pricing, but because it's a short-term rental, you get to be super tactical on your pricing day by day. And I'm sure you're using a pricing software to help you out. But I use Price Labs and all of that, and it just does everything, automatically, and it uses all the data from around the country to make some really really smart pricing decisions for you. But you're able to, in the high season, like you said, double, maybe even triple your revenue of the low season. But the low season, you're still cash flowing. So in a long-term rental, you're like, hey, it rents for 3 grand a month, and you just break even for the month, or it rents for 3,500 and you make a couple $100. But if you look at that model and you're comparing long-term rentals and short-term rentals, you're saying, well, shoot, in June, July, and August, of that 12-month lease, I'm like turning down, $20,000 maybe, like in gross revenue, which is crazy, and it sounds like it could never happen and all this stuff, but I'm telling you, I mean, this, Tucker, and I know this from being doing short-term rentals here in DC. I mean, we're expecting to gross between 2 units. I'm expecting to gross at the end of this year about 130,000 in revenue. And there's operational expenses and all of that, but the operational expenses come to about 80,000. So, listeners, you can do the math there. It is very, very lucrative, and that's off of 2 units. So, tell me, Tucker, what you're doing, because you have 5 acres here, and I know you want more than just 2 units on this property.
Right, right. So the first thing that we found out about the property before even the inspection was that there was a huge, huge project that they were going to do that was high density commercial. It already has the commercial city septic, city water, city power. It would totally be able to accommodate that. It's zoned for it. The city, it's in an opportunity zone.
Wow.
They want larger developments to happen there because so many people are working remote. They're, high net worth individuals who just kind of want to live and experience the wilderness. They've been living in cities, working corporate, high paying jobs for a long time, and they're seeing a lot of those types of people around there. And we're trying to tap into that by building a larger development, but we're waiting on it right now to just kind of figure out like how that system would work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like all of this is new to, even my partner doesn't have much experience with the larger multifamily model. We've identified the engineering company that was originally going to work on the project. They absolutely love our idea. They're thinking between 34 and 52 units. They would
Wow.
all be
On the
between,
property.
right,
That's massive. That's
right.
incredible.
And they're looking at the inspirations coming from a lot of developments in Jackson Hole and just sort of those mountainy sort of spa type resorts where it's everything's kind of communal. There's a spa there, there's those types of amenities, and you have access to the wildlife, sort of a minimalistic type of construction where it's not as invasive. There's
Mm-hmm.
still a lot of open land there. All the trees won't be cut down. So we definitely want to use it to sort of promote the wildlife experience that is there because it's very unique. I mean, tell me how many Airbnbs you're guaranteed to see at least 5 to 10 deer at per day.
Yeah, yeah, zero of mine in Washington D.C. But no, that's incredible. So you're going to be tapping into this ecotourism market, which is huge because I stayed at ecotourism resorts in Costa Rica and around the world. I mean, they're incredible. And the one, oh my God, the one, it was just like that. The cabins in the, uh, you know, I don't know, call them cabins like huts, whatever. Like they're um, in the forest. In this was in gosh, where? Yeah, this was in Costa Rica, and the monkeys, I think they were like bonobos monkeys or apes or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a zoologist. Don't blame me. Um, I mean, they would like laugh in the middle of the night, and then they would drop coconuts on the huts, and then they would laugh. They thought it was a huge joke, just right at like 2 in the morning, dropping a coconut and a huge crash on your middle, on the hut's metal roof, and then you'd hear these monkeys laughing above you, and you're like, nice. But it was wildlife. It was cool, and it got that part got old relatively quickly. But no, this is super cool. So 52 units. I can't imagine what that would do. I mean, this could be, this you can turn this $500,000 property into, $5 to $10 million business.
Right. And I guess the strategies that we're taking is crawl, walk, run. We started with the one Airbnb, we're adding a second, and then we're being very careful about, who we're doing the design for the development.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take at least a year in planning,
Oh yeah.
doing it as sort of a joint venture, possibly a syndication type model, but I've invited a couple of potential partners to go out there and visit the property with me, talk to our engineers about, if they think it's a worthwhile investment. I obviously do, my partner does, but if it's not something that we can bring more people to the table with, it may or may not happen. We don't know. So we're still sort of planning all that out and just trying to figure out how we can make it happen.
That's super exciting. But in the meantime, you have this one Airbnb about to have two Airbnbs up and running, and I'm sure very soon they'll be cash flowing. I bet by the high season, that second unit is going to be coming online with some nice numbers in June, July, August for you. So kind of rounding out the conversation here, you joined Adam in December, and you had this deal done, but I know that when we talked, you're like, well, you were kind of working this development project out, and I said, well, what have you checked out the military multifamily academy? And you're like, what's that? And now, as of this, this is live right now, but the recording, if you're listening to this when the date that we're recording, this is the night tonight is your first class with that academy and that cohort, and I'm super stoked for you. But is there anything that you think our listeners would, that you could share as far as benefits of being a part of any mastermind, whether that's our community's masterminds or anything else? Like, what has that done for you in your efforts and your goals to kind of make this resort a thing?
So, I mean, the first thing I'll say, and this is a little corny and people hear this all the time, but I mean, your network is your net worth.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not talking to people in similar situations to you or who previously were in similar situations and have a commonality, like everybody in the military has something in common. I mean, they just do. What branch you're in, it doesn't matter. There's similar experiences. Everybody goes through some type of boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
All those types of experiences can be shared. And being in both Adam and the Multifamily Academy is just, there's so much material that I can tap into, so many people that I can help advise based on my experiences. And then, that comes around too, where when I run into problems, I don't really have, I can ask whatever questions I need to, and there's somebody's going to have an answer, or somebody's going to direct message me to have a conversation about it online and sort of tell me a story about whatever experience they had. So yeah, I mean the education aspect of ADPI, they really help a lot of people, and it's just a great group to be a part of. Everybody's really positive, encouraging. A lot of people have been through ups and downs of real estate, and everybody just keeps going.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
No, man, I love that, and I love that you're having such a good experience within the community and within the masterminds. And I'm super stoked for you to learn everything about multifamily as you go through this week by week cohort model. And you were one of the lucky few. I think there's only 10 students that were taken at a time to get in and follow this, week by week, because you're absolutely right. You're going to meet everyone, and even man, I tap into my network almost every day because some problem comes up and you're like, I don't know how to do this. But when you go and ask someone, even if, like you said, like that person might have zero clue, but they're like, who I know? I know John or Sally or whoever. And let me just send a quick message. And in the information age, it happens like that. And it's just super cool because you have these relationships with people, kind of what comes around goes around. And when they need help, be super quick to respond. And I think that taps into that abundance mindset that I know you share, and a lot of our community shares, whether they're in the military or they're not in the military. It's all about kind of helping others. And it really does come around. So I'm excited for you. And I really want to, man, maybe I need to get up to old Big Sky and stay in the Airbnb.
Yeah, it's up. It's off Flathead Lake. It's right by Glacier, which is actually 4 hours north of Big Sky. I'm planning to go up there here in a few weeks, and I'm bringing hopefully at least one or two multifamily academy members with me and some friends just to see the property and see the opportunity and see what we can do with it. Also, of course, do a little bit of skiing up there as well. So
Sounds awesome, man. That sounds, yeah, skiing is not necessarily my thing. I'm more of a fall down the mountain kind of a dude, but I'll be in the lodge or whatever. I don't even know what it's called. But yeah, I am going to bring up something maybe slightly embarrassing for you, but here goes. I understand that there is a scrapbook that your significant other made, and on that scrapbook, you had your goals, and it said, "Be on the Active Duty Passive Income podcast." So I am proud to announce that when we push this podcast live, you can check that off. But I thought that was really cute and awesome, and we appreciate you guys following us.
Yeah, man. This was one of the first podcasts I found. I've listened to almost every episode just in the car while I'm working out. I just think it's a great opportunity for people, to service members, to find this. We have such a unique opportunity to get involved. And I mean, there's it does, like, no industry in this world, like private sector, anything, has something like ADPI with now basically 50,000 members that they can talk to about investing and real estate. I think it's absolutely unique and just wonderful.
Yeah, and we are always coming up with amazing new ways to help our community invest and help our community own more of what they swore to protect and defend. And that's the real estate in this country, because there sure is a heck of a lot of it. And you know, I would say that the military community is not necessarily super represented in ownership if you're looking at a whole, you know, the whole country. But we're, you know, our mission is to educate folks and change that, you know, one service member at a time. So, Tucker, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show, and I am very eager to you know, follow your journey in the Multifamily Academy, in Operation Adam, and I'm probably going to be asking you questions about short-term rentals and how to optimize things as I grow my business, and you know, we grow together. And like you said, your network's your net worth. So if you need anything, you just give me a call.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of ADPI.
Yeah, we love it, man. All right, we'll see you next